Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda Asari, President and CEO of Alfred Group, a national consultancy partnering with the nonprofit community to build its capacity and impact. I am honored to be here today to celebrate Black Philanthropy Month with three generations of the Lowry family. Thank you, Big Bill, Commissioner Bill, and Bill Jr., for sharing your family's incredible legacy of giving. We are here to explore the deep roots and enduring spirit of giving within your family, a story that spans for over a century. This isn't just a story about monetary donations, it's about the profound impact of collective care, passing down values from one generation to the next, and redefining what it means to be a philanthropist. Today, we will dive into the lessons learned, the traditions passed on, and the hopes for the future of Black philanthropy. I'm so excited to hear from each of you about your unique perspectives and how your family's legacy of generosity continues to create a powerful ripple effect in your community and beyond. Thank you again for your time. Let's get started. Big Bill, I'm going to start with you to kick us off. Thinking back to your childhood, what were some of the first lessons you learned about giving back? Who were your role models? And how did they embody philanthropy in a way that resonated with you?
I'm not sure I can remember exactly the person or the time, but I do remember that growing up, I was like a lot of black kids anyway. You first of all, you're wondering where is everything because we didn't have much. We were living on the south side of Chicago. And as a kid, I know I used to think that the most important thing that I could do would to be to try to help others who don't have what I had, what little bit I had. And that I was encouraged by that, by the fact that people were pretty receptive to that. And then it began to grow, like you planted a seed. And the more I did, and the more people responded to it in a positive way, the more encouraged I became in terms of things to do. And I swore to myself, if I ever accomplished anything at all, I was going to share it with those that didn't have it. I had have as much as I did. And fortunately, that sort of worked out. And then as Bill came along, it was easy because we were sharing the common denominators. And and he's been able to help grow that even more. And also Bill Jr. bringing up the rear. But it's not the rear. What it is, I think it's a composite of people who have common denominators that want to help others who cannot help themselves.
That's a powerful statement, Bill. And you talk about um, giving forward. Oftentimes we talk about giving back, but you're giving forward. And one of the ways that you've given forward is through your legacy. And I want to hear from Commissioner Bill. Commissioner Bill, what does philanthropy truly mean? Is it about the money, time, expertise, or something else entirely?
First of all, thank you, Brenda, for the question, and thank you for interviewing the three bills today. But also, I want to say thank you to you and to the Alfred Group for all that you've done for us. I've had the pleasure over the years to work with you relative to a museum, two colleges, and I just would be remiss if I didn't say thank you for everything that you do and everything you bring to our community. So thank you for that. For me, when
Thank
I
you.
think philanthropy, I think about the three T's. I think about the sharing of time and talent and then treasure. And then depending on which stage you're in your life, you probably lean on one T versus the other. But I think the takeaway is while resourcing by money is truly impactful, it's not the only way to give back. In fact, if you really want to breathe life into the word philanthropy, it's by embracing the definition, which is a desire to promote the welfare of others. That's it. Giving back is a
Yes.
desire to promote the welfare of others. That's how I approach it.
All right. Well, let's hear from Bill Jr. You've heard from Big Bill and your dad, Commissioner Bill, and you truly represent the next generation. What does it mean to you when you reflect back on your family and what it has mean to you to be philanthropic? And how do you define philanthropy for your generation?
Well, again, Brenda, I want to also just say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and even have this chance to speak with my father and grandfather, especially
Yes.
about this topic, because you're definitely getting a wealth of knowledge from those two.
Yeah.
So while I'm younger, as we shall say, in this space, as I thought about it for this interview, I did what the new generations often do, looked it up, got the root of the word and looked it up. But in terms of how I think about philanthropy, I think really it's altruistic at its nature and at its core. And I think it's giving support and care to improve the well-being of others. I think that's really what it is when you get down to it, no matter whether it's the three T's or specifically money. Um, but more importantly, when I think of philanthropy, I think there's a component of sacrifice. I think you're sacrificing something you have in terms of resources to make sure that someone who is more in need has them. And I think that that is kind of the basis of it. And then what it looks like really depends on the person. So for my generation, it may be more time and maybe more talent right now. But it's changing. It changes rapidly. So I've saw recently some streamers who are younger that's taking off streaming and making money up there. They had a whole giveaway, charity thing, and they were getting donations and giving that away. So it really depends on each person.
That's exactly right. I never really thought about giving as sacrifice. I really love that concept of sacrifice. And when we think about sacrifice, one of the things that has always been a part of the Black community DNA is what we call mutual care, mutual aid, where we've always cared for each other, right? Because if someone didn't have, as you said, big bill, and if you had it, they had it too. I can remember my family. We always had enough. There were five kids in my family. And so we always had someone else, one of my brother's friends. So we always had enough for everyone. So that sacrifice and giving back and mutual care, I think that is something that really has been a part of our DNA as a people from the very beginning. Bill, it's so impressive, Big Bill, to hear from your son and grandson. And we think about values. Today, in this moment, sometimes it feels as if values have gone down the drain. I was, thinking about values that you've passed down. What is the single most important lesson about giving that you hope that Commissioner Bill, Bill Jr., and your other grandchildren carry with them?
Well, my hope is that they carry the same thing that I did. As an example, very early in my life, I was given the opportunity to become part of a management program at Inland Steel Company. And it was a program where they would select anywhere from 5 to 10 guys, basically, uh, to go through they called it a training program, but it was really exposure to Inland Steel Company and all of its divisions and subsidiaries. And the program that I joined was called the 19th Training Group. And it was 9 months of going all around Inland Steel Company. And at the end of that, being placed in an area where hopefully you would rise into management
Mhm.
and and really become one of the managers within Inland Steel Company. I was in that program, enjoying it and doing very well, and was rising through the organization. But I felt uncomfortable for some reason, and I didn't know what it was. And after really taking inventory and thinking about it, I came to the realization that it wasn't my going through the company, making more money and so forth, that was on my mind. But what was missing is that I had lost track of why I thought I was put on this earth, and that was to serve others. Once I decided that, and once I started doing that, I've been smiling ever since. So that's one of the things that I wanted to pass on to my children, but it isn't, and I think Bill might attest to this. I didn't talk as much as I tried to show them what I thought was the most important thing. And if through that they saw that's something that made sense to them, that they would do that. And I think I feel really very pleasure. I feel very good about what Bill's done and what young Bill's doing because that's it. I didn't talk to them, but I showed them, and now they're showing others. That to me is the most important thing in the world. And I'll close with this. As you know, I had a TV program
Oh, he froze.
and I was on for 24 years. And they said that, pardon? I'm sorry, I
Good.
didn't hear
You're
you.
good now.
Oh, okay. And the thing that gives me most pleasure is that, first of all, the state has indicated that we served and helped over 1 million people get jobs and or training. And now, even though in my advanced age and the fact that I haven't been on TV for a while, I still have people coming up to me who will say, I remember the program. Thank you. You gave me my first job. I'm now retired. I'm this and that. And to me, that's the cycle that was most important to me. The fact that they feel that they now have reached a point that they can give to others where possibly they may not have been there in the other, without that. So to me, that's the guiding light. And I think both bills have picked that up as well.
You know, you referred earlier to planting seeds, and that's the one thing that I love about the work of being a philanthropist and being generous is the fact that you plant seeds. You may never see the results and the fruit of those trees, and
Yeah.
here we are, you know, years later, someone who whom you touched that you weren't even aware, and how you helped them to set a path for their lives and then for generations to come. And you're doing that work, Bill, Big Bill, so selflessly. And that has always been my encounter with you. You have been such a wonderful champion for so many nonprofits in Chicago and beyond. You know, Commissioner Bill, we talk about values and giving back. I mean, you're doing that work as a profession and well as in your volunteer life. Why don't you talk a little bit about your volunteer life?
Let me first say it's rooted in what I did observe. And
Hmm.
both of my parents, Big Bill as well as my mother, they modeled service. And it was
Yes.
modeled in our church, in our school. Dad, of course, volunteered relative to his various civic engagements, his business related engagements. And as children, you got to see it to be it. So one of the
Yes.
greatest things we can do when we talk about Black philanthropy is allow our children to see us living Galatians each and every day. Galatians says we're here for two reasons: to love and to serve others. It is that simple. So I
Yes.
not only had the opportunity to observe that through my parents, but now to embrace that as I've tried to really continue what I saw them model. So it's interesting, Brenda, when I first started serving on boards and the like, Dad gave me very sage advice. He says never join more than four boards, you know, and because you're working and you have a family. Well, of course, when I was elected commissioner in 2018, I was on 14 boards trying to give back. But it's so interesting because that really just evinces that I was raised with and I have a service heart. But since I've been in this space, I've seen service take on a kind of a new a role in my life. And I'll give you just one example.
Mhm.
I serve as chair of Health and Hospitals Committee for the Cook County Board of Commissioners, and I serve as vice chair of the Cook County Health Board of Directors. And one of the things that I am most proud of is my small role relative to the Providence Scholarship Fund. Providence is one of the gems of my third district, Providence Hospital. And over the last 3 years, we have resourced our students from our communities as they pursue careers in healthcare. And just this last spring, we resourced our students to the extent of $1,750,000. So I have now been positioned really by God to impact in, I think, not just an impactful way, but a generational way, in a way, quite honestly, I was not able to do on those 14 boards. So I'm very grateful to have seen it modeled. And I'm equally grateful to be able to now keep the ladder down as I go forward.
That is just terrific. And again, planting generational seeds for these
Yes.
young people and creating greater possibilities and a springboard for them. Bill Jr., I would love to learn more about, you know, what are you doing in terms of your philanthropic life and how you're giving back and serving in the community.
At this point, it varies. So, I originally started out when I first got to law school, a little bit over 5 years or so ago, working in private practice with my father, which was a great experience. But I was pulled to something that was a little bit more in line with my passion in terms of the law, and that's civil rights. So at this point, I've been practicing now. I switched over, been practicing civil rights law for the last 2.5 years or so. So my day to day, really centers around this. In terms of reaching out and talking with community organizations and advocacy groups, working with them about, making sure people have resources and their rights, protecting the rights of people, especially the citizens of Illinois, especially with everything going on. So really that has become my day to day. But even outside of that, that's continuing to share information with people, have discussions, provide context. I think it's so key these days. And then volunteer time. If that's mentorship, giving back, those types of things. I really enjoy being able to counsel, advise, and give mentorship to people coming up behind me and really just trying to help make people's day-to-day lives better. I'm a natural problem solver, so I like to do it and it's fun to me. And when I mentioned that to somebody the other day, they were like, do you know how to do anything that's more just like super exciting that you're passionate about? Skydiving or painting like Picasso, but I really do enjoy problem
Yes.
solving thinking and
Yep.
just making things better. That's fun to me. So that's really what it looks like for me these days.
Yeah. Do you think that the way you approach philanthropy and your motivations, do you think that they're that different from that of your grandfather and your dad when you think about motivation and how you go about your philanthropic endeavors?
The motivations of it, no. I think that how we kind of all do those types of things is very similar. It's just
Hmm.
how it actually looks is what kind of differs.
Hmm.
So for me, I think that I do it via the law. And that's kind of my passion. That's kind of how I think. And while Commissioner Bill, my father, he does it through politics and service as a public official, which is just as important. That's the other side of it. You got to have the laws, the regulations, and ordinances, whatever the case is, the programs, for then the lawyers to try to enforce and protect. So that's the other part of it. And then my grandfather, Big Bill, did it from HR, from within
Hmm.
organizations. He looked out for people at the most ground level, helping them to have the resources, make sure they were taken care of. So really, we all do it because I think we're all problem solvers. And more than that, I think we're all connectors. That's the
Yeah.
conversation I had with my grandfather. He told me before, the spokes of the wheel are just as important as the tires, the rims, and all that. You need people to connect people. And I think our real purpose is that we enjoy and we work to connect people to the resources and including other people that can help fill a need. And I think that that's kind of how we all do it, just in different ways.
That connector is such a appropriate characterization of Big Bill because that's how I've always known him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's connected Alpha Group to clients. He has connected me to people whom, Brenda, you should meet this person or they should meet you. He is the greatest connector, in this philanthropic marketplace. Whenever we think of who should people go speak to, Big Bill, I know we've sent a lot of people your way because you know a lot of people, and when we think about philanthropy, we talk about the three T's. Ties is just as important because one of the things that we understand typically about organizations, Black and Brown organizations, typically they don't have the ties and the connections, and that's one of the reasons that they're not positioned in many cases to raise the kind of dollars or have the relationships that they need to help advance their missions in a very resilient way. So I think connectors is such an apt description of the three of you. And truly, that's a very valuable contribution when we think about philanthropy and creating greater generosity. One of the things as we think about, the times, we think of the different vehicles that our generations are using to give back. Big Bill, we come from the school of everything is face to face, people to people, having lunch and coffee. Bill Jr., there's a whole digital footprint. You spoke earlier about, one of your, someone in your network who's using streaming as a way to bring people together and raise money and create change. I find that is so interesting as we think about the evolving landscape of philanthropy and the different ways and tools that we're using philanthropy to make a difference in how we are expanding the definition of who a philanthropist is and what philanthropy is. So I would love to learn more about, when you think about philanthropy and some of the shifts that you're seeing, what's resonating with you all right now in terms of either the things that are staying the same or the things that you feel, hey, we need to continue to build on some of the foundational things that we currently have in place. Who would like to just kind of give your thoughts on that, the evolving, shifting sands of philanthropy?
Bill, you want to go first?
No. Very briefly, I think one of the things that's missing, Brenda, unfortunately, is history.
Mm,
Because there's a lot of things that have happened that was building and has built a foundation on which we all live, walk on, and use. And I think that history has been lost because we're drawn to other avenues and other dimensions. And somehow we've got to go back and take inventory on where some of this started so that we can use it because things have not changed to the extent that that foundation doesn't still take us where we want to go, the way we want to go.
yeah.
I That bothers me quite a bit. When I first got into this and started getting asked to be on boards and they're like, Brenda, I didn't have any money. And I certainly couldn't give the money, but I could give my energy and I could give my time and I believed and have always believed in networks. And I still think that works. It seems as if now too many people are looking at this individually in terms of what's happening with them, how much money can they get, and that's missing the boat. Because to me, if I can't give to some others who have needs, then I shouldn't exist. So to me, that's one of the most important things, and that's a dimension that I don't see growing. I see it, in fact, at a standstill or actually getting worse.
So I'll chime in. I think it's important, to your point, Brenda, that you meet people where they are.
Mhm.
And that has become a little bit harder in some ways with social media, despite the fact that social media was meant to make connectivity a bit easier.
Right.
But that's just the reality of it. So I keep coming back to what philanthropy is, and that's the desire to promote the welfare of others. So, with that in mind, in trying to meet people where they are, I found a couple of things. One, impact for me can be rooted in being transparent and being vulnerable, right? And I'll give you an example of that as well as the way I tried to go where people were. So I had my prostate removed in January 2020. And my wife Cheryl and I, we were infused to do a video while I walked that evening in Northwestern Hospital with my robe on. And I did that to say, for those who will follow down this path, I want you to know it's going to be all right. And then we went from that to an actual sit down interview that completed the video, where I was able to put on a shirt and a collar and take off my robe. But I went through the process of how to determine if you had or didn't have prostate cancer, step by step, and just talked. And
Wow.
I've had hundreds of individuals since thank me for that video that they continue to look at and share with others. So for me, giving back is no longer transactional. Everything I do, I try to do it in a generational way. I try to do it so that when I'm in my next phase, someone still can look at that video when they get a
Right.
diagnosis that they have cancer.
Mhm. Wow.
And then I'll add in briefly from a younger perspective in terms of social media. Even though I'm not the most tech savvy person, I am working on it. I think um, I'll play devil's advocate just in this moment because a lot of the sentiments I agree with that were already expressed. I think that there's an amazing opportunity here with social media and technology. There's been no time in history where you can legitimately contact anybody in the world at any time. And that is an amazing, powerful tool to spread positive messages, to communicate information, knowledge, all those things. But just like any tool, the most important thing is who's wielding it. So, what you want is to have true, intentional, well-meaning philanthropists or academics or educators using these tools. I think one of the downsides is that because it's so available at times, people can misuse it without the proper training or mentality behind why they're using it. And I think that that hurts because while knowledge is power, information and knowledge aren't always the same thing. And I think that there can be an overabundance of information. So I would say that social media and technology is great if people are coming with it with the right mentality, with the skills to communicate effectively, because communication is something that's key no matter what medium you use. You got to be able to communicate. And that includes hearing and listening.
Yeah.
And then I would say that beyond that, a willingness to look at things and spread and share not just information, but context and integrity and an intention. I think those are the key things that keep social media and that being a tool for progression and not something that keeps us standing still or regressing.
Let me give you a couple quick nuggets from the
Yeah,
Lowry family, Brenda. So to Bill's
yes.
point about communication includes being silent and listening. My dad, Big Bill, has always said, you don't learn anything if you're talking. And then the other thing that I recently have heard and have embraced, the same letters spell listen that spell silent.
Oh, ah,
That is a nugget.
love that. Love that. Big Bill, when you think about the legacy, the question is you're building, you've already built it. And that's exemplified through your son and your grandson. So as you think about it, I'm sure when you started all this, you didn't think about legacy. You were just doing what was in you, a part of your DNA, a part of your values. But when you think about the legacy, what do you hope people will say about the way you've given? What is
I,
the ripple effect that you hope would be created for generations to come?
well, to be honest with you, uh, I don't think I thought about that.
No.
I think the most important thing to me is for me to look at my son and my grandson and see not only how they've progressed, but what their priorities are in life, which I think that are the most important things that we can have. And they're sacrificing themselves, their time, their energy, their love in areas where it's really needed so others can be nourished by their thoughts and deeds. That to me is the most important thing. And I want to see that continue. And I want to see their children, Bill's children already, but Bill, if he has children, I want to see them do the same thing. To me, that's the most important thing. That's why I have some misgivings and I pray. See, Bill's right about communication, and there has been progress and everything. And in fact, there's a joke within our family. If they want to communicate with me, we're going to have to do it by phone, or they're going to have to do it through my wife, because this world has basically passed me by. But I think that most people thoroughly enjoy the face-to-face. I think that most people enjoy people taking the time out to really see them, talk to them. It's discouraging to me to see three youngsters walking down the street, and all three of them on the phones. And they may even be talking to one another. I don't know. But that part is beyond me. But it is important for me to let people know that I think enough about them, love them enough that I want to contact them. I want to talk to them. I want to get with them face to face and see if there's some vacuum in their life that I can feel to make them better and let them do the same thing for someone else. And I keep hoping that this is something that we keep passing down and through one another and doing it. Now, whether we do it by computer or whether we do it by mouth, I don't care. but we have to do it with one another. And we have to be honest about it, and we have to be genuine. That to me is the proof of the pudding.
I love that. One of the things I want to touch on, we've talked a lot about philanthropy going out. I would love to know, when you think about your volunteer service, Commissioner Bill, what advice do you give to nonprofit organizations who are looking to engage with donors of color? There's a lot of research out there indicating that the number one reason that donors of color don't give is because they aren't asked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm not surprised to hear that that research is out there.
Mhm.
And I think it's important for organizations to cultivate relationships. And that's what all we're talking about are relationships.
Yeah.
And people are people. Everyone deserves to have their relationship with this organization or that organization cultivated. I think often, because of implicit bias, there's certain expectations and beliefs about our community which just aren't accurate, right? I serve as chair of the Lake Forest College Board of Trustees. I'm one of three African Americans on that board, but my position is one based on years and years of relationship. And given that I'm in this role, I'm pushing to make sure those on the board realize the value of diversity and different opinions. You learn the most from people who are different than you, not like you. So it's wonderful to be in this position, but that's part of what I must do. I
Right.
serve as president of a 50-person majority litigation firm. That's ridiculous that I'm the only one in the state who serves in that way. But I'm using this opportunity to bring more diversity to my firm. And Brenda, you'll love this. I was so proud because we just surpassed 29%. I sent it to the family chat, said, look, we're pushing, we're pushing. So, big picture, I think the
Yes.
value of us needs to be understood by those who are not from our community because our value is vast. We bring
Yes.
experiences that no one else can bring. That's the way we need to approach philanthropy with all the different groups that we have.
Exactly. Any other thoughts on Bill Jr.? Do you have anything to add in terms of engagement?
In terms of the overall engagement, it's in terms of what you cited, I wasn't aware of that. What I would
Hmm.
say though, just echoing what my father said in another one that I throw out, we use metaphors, analogies, and all this a lot in this family. Uh, what is it? Rising tides lift all boats. And then the other one, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So what I would say is that we are a lot more powerful when we are taking care of those who are most in need among us. And it helps us too, even though that's not the reason you do it. It helps everybody.
Yeah.
If somebody helps and gives back in those ways, eventually you can be assured by giving philanthropy to those in need, you're creating future philanthropists. And those people are going to benefit your kids, your grandkids, your great kids, the society overall. So I think if you think about it in that regard, there's no reason why you wouldn't reach out to anybody who has that capacity and willingness to do that type of work. In fact, it's imperative that you do so to ensure the continuation of that type of work. So that's really all I would add to that. And that, I don't understand it, but something that guys to continue to move forward.
Brenda, a quick, quick point at this point. I think to what is said about our participation, Black participation in terms of organizations. One, there are a couple of things that are really impede the progress here. And some of it is on the side of the institution itself or the organization that's trying to recruit these people. And the other are those of us who are available. First of all, I think a lot of the organizations want Black participation just so that they can have a black person enlisted. And I don't think they're sincere in terms of bringing them on and really want them to do anything. But they do that anyway so that they can have that representation. That's wrong as far as I'm concerned. The other thing is that most of these organizations have to change their request and their recruitment and their needs. Because if you an organization and you have 20 give or get, 20,000 give or get, That's beyond most of the people here who have a great deal to give that organization because the dimensions that that organization needs is out there. They can't give them $20,000 to good forget, but they can give them their attention and their time and their representation that actually increases their value and participation within the community. And until those things can come together, you're not going to have the kind of organization and its components that you need so that not only they move forward, but when they move forward, so will the city, so will the state, so will the country.
And let me
Exactly.
just also share, Brenda, because this is important to do. You are modeling part of the solution. You are highlighting Black Philanthropy Month. You're shining a light on the importance of Black philanthropy with this interview and podcast. That's a part of the solution too, because
Yes.
a lot of communities they just don't know us. So
Mhm.
without knowing us, how can they be expected to know our value? You're part of the
Exactly.
solution. So we appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Big Bill, what has it been like for you to sit and listen to this conversation, to hear your son and your grandson talk about philanthropy, about giving back and giving forward? Have you all had these kinds of conversations before, the three of you collectively as a family? How has this been for you this time that we've had together to just hear these two generations talking about philanthropy?
Well, the first thing, I'm going to take it out of philanthropy for a minute. It is a pleasure for me to listen to the two of them, regardless of what we're talking about. They make me as proud as any person could ever be. And I think they're two of the most marvelous people. And I'm biased, but I think that they're two of the most marvelous people I've ever known. Secondly, in terms of being able to communicate this, I echo what Bill said. It's very important what you're doing because most people don't know what we have on it. But until there's a genuine approach to and thoughts about taking people like us into their organizations, they'll never know the importance that we can give them. As an example, and I'll say this very quickly, when I first started getting on boards, I didn't have much more money than I have now. So I certainly didn't get on the boards to give money. But I told myself, how can I affect something here that's going to go beyond this organization and into a community that I'm trying to serve, whether it's Black or otherwise? And I can do that through my hustle. I can do that through my intentions and through the things that are important to me that I feel should be important to someone else. And I did that without money. I didn't have money to do that. But I tried to get people and give them the ideas and the thoughts that are most important to the organization as well as all of us. And most of the time, if you have people who are genuinely interested in you being there and contributing, it's going to work for you. And whatever progress I've made and whatever pluses that have come out of my participation, it certainly hadn't been because I was giving the money, but I was giving my time, I was giving my love, and I was giving as much energy as I have. And I try to
And
do that even now at 90 years old.
and then on so many levels, Big Bill, you were giving hope, opening doors to possibilities and opportunities. And those are things that money oftentimes can't buy.
Yes, that's
That,
right.
thank
Commissioner
goodness.
Bill, as you've listened to this conversation and listened to your dad and listened to your son, what's resonating with you? How are you feeling about this conversation and about your family?
I'm extremely proud and blessed to be the son of Big Bill and the dad of Bill Jr. I feel that now, but I feel that every day. I really do. That is not lost on me. What I'm also pleased about is that we'll be able to share what I think is a very special family with others, because that's really what's going
Yes.
to happen.
Yeah.
So in a way, I feel my chest is sticking out because we'll be able to make sure others know about the Lowrys, thanks to you
Yeah.
and thanks to the Alfred Group. The other thing I'll just say is uh, Bill Jr. is doing a great job of keeping the tradition of service and love going, but so too is his brother Evan and his sister Clark. So I am immensely proud of all three. Their mother Cheryl's done a pretty good job.
Bill Jr., as you've listened to your granddad and your dad, how are you feeling? What are you thinking about now? And what are your hopes for the future as you think about your generation of philanthropists?
Um, well, in terms of this conversation, I think it's obviously inspiring to hear those types of things. That's at the core. I think the other thing, though, that I get is that from hearing how they both talk about these things, it extends such a long period of time. So I guess what I'm taking away from it is that this is really a marathon, not a sprint, and that patience is key, that there's development in this process, that you can go from giving one of the T's to another T depending on the time and depending on where you are. And that it's important to kind of allow that development as you proceed forward because this really can expand all this time, these years or these decades, and go from tens to hundreds to thousands to millions, as my grandfather said, of people. So I think that it really goes to show patience is what I've kind of taken away from both of them in their process, which I think is important going to what you asked about the current day. I think that the way our society kind of is set up and some of the things that we're told as younger people is that patience isn't really cultivated or really acknowledged or appreciated. It's instant gratification for a lot of different things, which I understand the benefits of that, but it's also dangerous. That's how you have your burnout and things of that nature and getting disillusioned, which can be harmful with doing this type of work because you don't want someone who just gives a lot at one point and then they're done and they don't want to do it anymore. You want someone, even if it's smaller, consistently over time building. I think that creates a even bigger impact potentially. So for me, it's really the patience that they both kind of take to this work and with themselves and their own development through this process that is something that I will take moving forward in terms of my own path.
Thank you. As we wrap up our time together, I just want to leave space for any additional thoughts, anything top of mind that you would like to leave with our listeners. This video blog will be shared with thousands across our social media and email networks and um, table talk networks. So I'd love to just kind of just wrap up with just any last thoughts from each of you as you think about Black philanthropy, the future of Black philanthropy, what excites you the most? What's your collective hope as we go forward, or anything else you would like to add to this conversation?
Brenda, very,
Bill?
very quickly, very quickly. First of
Yes.
all, thank you very much for this and everything that both bills have said. I echo, and
Oh,
I
you're
think this
welcome.
is something
It's
that's
my
truly
honor.
needed. The last thing that I would say is that patience is very important, but so is being genuine. And if you're not really interested in doing something, leave it alone. But the need is so important here that this, because what if we don't do that, nobody's going to do it for us.
Yes.
And we have something to give. We all have something to give. Take
Yes.
inventory on yourself. And what is it you feel you can do and you want to do and you can afford to do? And then make up your mind to do it because nobody's going to come and do it for you. You do it. But if your heart's not in it and your love not in it, and the fact that you want to elevate others along with yourself, then leave it alone because you're going to be more of a detriment than you are an asset.
I love that, Bill. There's a famous quote, and I don't have it all the way correct, but President Barack Obama, I love a quote of his that says that we are the ones we're waiting for. So when you think about our Black community and how we're going to lift all boats, Bill Jr., it will take us helping each other, caring for each other, continuing to be generous with each other, and caring about the future of our community. Commissioner Bill,
Well,
your
thank you,
thoughts?
Brenda. Thank you again for the opportunity. And I'm going to close by just absolutely sharing my truth. And that is Black philanthropy is directly tied to our community having increased economic equity and healthcare equity. And when we get to a point in our community that we're not just trying to go day by day and make sure our kids are getting something in their bellies, it's going to be easier to vision giving back to others. So that is on all of us to continue to strive for true and lasting economic equity and healthcare equity. And I'll leave you with this. You don't do what's right to create legacy. You don't do what's right to get awards. But I will, long after I'm in my next phase, my birthday health screening program will exist in Cook County. And we started that in January. So now every woman in Cook County, 40 or over, can get a free mammogram at any Cook County hospital or clinic, whether they have insurance or not. And every man 45 or older can get a free prostate screening, whether they have insurance or not, at any Cook County hospital or clinic. And as we speak, 42% of the residents in Cook County, 5.2 million people, are 40 and over. So I think we must continue to push for economic equity, healthcare equity, and then we will see Black philanthropy absolutely flourish.
Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Bill. Bill Jr., bring us home.
That is yeah, so the last thing I would say to just kind of build on this in our future is I agree with the equity piece 100%. Obviously, the work I do is centered around creating equity. I would just say it encouraging for those who are up and coming. I mean, I get it. At this age, in this time, how difficult it can be to even conceptualize what to do, how to do it, because you feel the need to just try to get by on your own. Um, I will say though that this type of work really isn't work. It really is just a natural process that allows even your own anything going on with you to get easier. I found that I've gained and learned and been strengthened skill wise, connections, all those types of things when I'm giving back and doing for others. That's the reason I even got to law school. It's the reason I even got this job that I'm doing civil rights. It's because of times I was giving back when I felt like I didn't have enough time. And it really is not just money, but your knowledge, your experience even is enough. You can mentor at 15 and 16 if you have the right mentality, if you're doing it for someone who's 11 or 12 who needs that type of guidance. So this can really look like anything in helping strengthen those around you. Because what they say is that you're really a combination of the five people you're around the most. So I don't know if that's true, but what I do know is that when you're creating a stronger environment around you, it also helps strengthen you and then vice versa. It creates a cycle, it creates momentum. So I would say think of the holistic, think of yourselves long term, and continue to give back because it truly is rewarding. And I'm not just saying that. It is something to really put time and effort into. So that's how I'll leave it. But I again co-sign equity is key. So start investing now in yourselves in others because it will pay dividends.
Big Bill, Commissioner Bill, Bill Jr., thank you for this truly
You,
insightful and inspiring conversation. It has been a privilege to hear your stories and witness the unique bond you share, which is so deeply rooted in a commitment to giving back. Your family's journey is a powerful reminder that philanthropy is not just a transaction, it's a tradition, a value system, a way of life. From the collective care that built up a community to the tools that mobilize a new generation, your legacy shows that the spirit of giving is a living, breathing force that evolves while staying true to its core. Thank you. Thank you for showing us that while the methods of giving may change, the heart of it remains the same, building a stronger, more supportive community for all. Your stories are a testament to the power of generational giving and a beacon of hope for the future of Black philanthropy. Thank you all so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing what lies ahead on so many levels for you, Commissioner Bill, as you continue to do your work to serve millions. Bill Jr., you're the best of your generation, and I know we're also very proud of you. Big Bill, you're the tree that planted these seeds. Well done. Thank you, friends. Thank
thank
you
you.
again for your time and sharing with us.
Thanks, Brenda, for having
Thank you,
us.
Brenda.
Thank you.
Thank you much.